now. Hi, this is Roz Fehr. I'm the communications lead for the 2022 Sisters Going the Distance Conference. I'm really excited today to be here with Dr. Chari Smith, who's an OBGYN specialist and just a woman who is very in tune with our health and our bodies and our mental well-being. Welcome, and we're looking forward to you being at the conference in September.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited about the conference and having another opportunity to participate in this wonderful endeavor.
Oh, that's really great. You spoke at the conference last year, which we really appreciated. Do you feel that this is an issue that affects a lot of women? I mean, mental well-being and their physical health, and I wondered how that impacts the patients that you see.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's, you have to be living under a rock to not recognize that mental health, mental stress is on the forefront in every avenue. Like you see it from lawmakers, how that impacts things like gun control. And I mean, it's just everywhere. And, it of course is not just, it's not everyone, it's also women as well. And because of the climate in which we live, which is good and bad, right? There's this mental health awareness. So we have that open forum to be able to talk about mental health, which we weren't able or didn't do, almost even 10, 20 years ago. But also there are all these stressors and all these new pressures, and that's making it even more exacerbated. So, on one side, the reason why it's on the forefront is because we have that openness to talk about it. On the other side, there are certain circumstances that are going on in our life that's actually making the mental health worse. And then of course, we get into the whole spiritual warfare. That's a whole nother avenue, but all of that together is what makes it important for us to have these conversations.
That's a really good point. Do you feel that people are more likely to have these conversations now that we've gone through the pandemic, or do you feel there's still some reluctance to address them?
I think that that's a loaded question. So it depends on the person. I'm going to be completely transparent. I feel, within faith communities, mental health is typically not discussed. And some of that is because, it's viewed as a lack of faith or, a lack of trust in God. But the problem is mental health is a health issue. So it's, in my opinion, it's not any different than high blood pressure or cancer or, heart disease. All of these things, of course, as we know, as Christians, are products of sin. And we know that the devil does not hold any punches. So he attacks us on every front, which includes mental health. So no, the conversations are not really discussed within the Christian-based community. That's just my observation. I could be completely off base with this, but I've been going to church my whole life. And I can say that we don't typically have these conversations. We're quick to have a health fair where we're talking about checking blood pressure and checking blood sugars. While those things are very important, it's very rare that we really kind of address some of the mental issues. But I think in the community, mental health has been it's been such a great thing. So from athletes talking about the pressures of performance to artists to actors to, leaders, all of these people are, saying, hey, I'm struggling with mental health. I'm struggling with addiction. I'm struggling with, just kind of keeping my life together. And these are things that we see, people of power, people that we respect. So, we have to, as, I think as good stewards to this life that God has entrusted us with, we have to really kind of step up our game and really kind of talk about the things that are going to give us the victory over the enemy.
I think that's really good. Yeah, I was speaking with someone the other day about I almost feel like the incident last summer with Simone Biles was a watershed of sorts, because it seemed like initially there was backlash when she didn't perform, and she's like, I'm protecting my mental health. But later, as time went on, it seemed like more people became were less reluctant to talk about it themselves. And do you think that is going to make a difference going forward with how people view mental health, perhaps?
That's a good question. And I'm going to be honest, and I don't know. I mean,
Mhm.
it's one of those things where, you hope that people being more vocal and people coming out and kind of admitting that they're human.
Mhm.
You'd hope that that would give other people kind of that fire and that courage to kind of say, you know what, hey, I'm struggling with the same thing as well. Sadly, there are some people on the flip side who, criticize that behavior and, kind of say that it's an excuse. But I think regardless of it, it is something that is important for us to have a conversation about.
Mhm. Mhm. I think that's a good point. Do you have, I know you have a wide range of ages in your practice. Do you find that younger people are maybe a little more um, vocal about their mental health and getting help than some of your older patients are?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think I'm going to say probably the people in my practice that really seek out or recognize, that's probably a better word,
Hmm.
recognize that there's something going on
Hmm.
are probably my women who are going through menopause.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and my postpartum women. Those are the
Hmm.
two.
Hmm.
And some of that is because, there's been so much information about, postpartum depression.
Hmm.
In the old days, people kind of really just kind of, swept that under the rug. But now we know that it's a real issue, postpartum
Right.
depression, postpartum psychosis,
Hmm.
as well as, people who are making that transition to
Right.
menopause and how their moods are changing. So hopefully my hope for this upcoming conference is for me to just be able to not necessarily talk about, because I'm not a psychiatrist
Hmm.
and I'm not even a counselor. I do my little bit of, GYN counseling,
Hmm.
in the office, but I do take care of women, and I do take care of women who are experiencing hormonal changes. So my hope is to just kind of tease away what are the natural changes that occur emotionally
Hmm.
and mentally as we progress through life, and
Hmm.
how do hormones impact that. Because I feel like some of it is important for us to have an understanding, like, is this normal? Like, my thoughts of this and this, is this normal? Because some of the
Right.
things that we perceive in our mind as being, a bad thing, like, anxiety, after you've
Hmm.
had a baby, some of that is God given so that you
Hmm.
can really focus in on taking care of your child, So there are hormones that dictate how we behave mentally as we travel through life.
Hmm.
So I'd like to be able to unpack, what happens at puberty, what happens with pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, even as we age, and mostly just what are the normal progression. And then that way, when we're sitting at home and we're wondering, like, I got all these things swirling around in my head, is this normal or is this not?
Hmm.
And then you have the ability to be able to talk to the appropriate healthcare provider. Is this something I need to talk to my gynecologist about,
Right.
a pediatrician about, psychiatrist about?
Hmm.
So my talk hopefully is just going to be a basic 101, what's happening with my brain
Yeah.
as I'm getting older.
Well, I think that's we all need to know that. I ask myself that every day. I think. Just I want to have one more question. Do you I know you have spoken before about exercise and nutrition. Does that play a role in mental health, mental well-being as well?
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, these are not secrets. We know that what we eat, how much rest we get, how much exercise we get, we know that those hormones, those neurotransmitters that are released, those do impact how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about others.
Hmm.
So, those things are important as well. So, and it makes sense. We try not, because we want to be able to pick one thing. Oh, it's my hormones that are messing up everything. But it's probably a combination of a bunch of things. It could be a combination of what you're eating, how you're resting, your stressors that are in your life, making those tough choices. And I'm sure some of the other ladies in the conference are going to kind of help us with being able to look at other aspects of, what impacts our mental well-being, being able to do self-awareness and self-time and self-care. So yes, it definitely is multifactorial.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your insights, and we really look forward to seeing you on September 24th at the 2022 Sisters Going the Distance Conference.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to participating in this wonderful event once again this year.
Thank you so much. Have a great week.
All right, you too.
Bye.